Now, on the 11th of March this year, just last week, suspected bandits raided a settlement in the Kilepoi area of Baragoi, Samburu County, where at least 6 people died, 8 others were seriously injured in that particular incident. The area Deputy County Commissioner Samuel Mwangi confirmed that armed attackers stole 700 livestock. This you juxtapose with what's been happening in this region, in Samburu, in Baringo, in Elgeyo Marakwet, in Turkana, in Laikipia, in which is a county that we haven't mentioned, West Pokot, right? And there's been a security operation in this area for a long time, always referred to as banditry and cattle rustling. But I want to first of all set the stage by what President William Ruto said right at the beginning of his term, and this is in 2022 into 2023, when he visited these areas and he kept saying that this must come to an end. Take a listen.
Mimi nasimama hapa mbele yenu kuambia mambo ya wizi wa ng'ombe, mambo ya mauaji ya wananchi kiholela na wakora na watu wachache, hiyo biashara itakoma na sio tafadhali, itakoma. Tafadhali waambie wala wanaendesha hiyo biashara. Mimi nimesema leo nikiwa Turkana, watafute kazi nyingine, kwa sababu hiyo haitawezekana tena katika taifa letu la Kenya.
He said it more than once. This is just once, and he has repeated it again and again and again. And in fact, his then Cabinet Secretary for the Interior, Kithure Kindiki, in 2023, on the 13th of February 2023, gazetted these areas as disturbed areas, disturbed zones. He imposed a curfew. And on the same date, the then Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Aden Duale, also gazetted that the Kenya Defense Forces will be deployed into these areas to assist the security, the police service in security operations. They have been there since February 2023. But we're still seeing attacks as late as last week, where at least 10 people are dying, and others, every so often, there will be attacks. Daniel Nanok, MP Turkana West, and also the Vice Chair of the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group in the National Assembly in Parliament. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Eric, and team. Thank you for having me today.
You're here so that we discuss what's been happening here. What we're saying is, lest we forget that the Kenya Defense Forces have been deployed inside the territory of Kenya to assist in security operations. Lest we forget that hundreds of people have died over the years in these counties in what is called cattle rustling. Lest we forget, last week there was fresh attacks in the area. Since the deployment of the security forces, Mheshimiwa, has there been any improvement?
Once again, thank you. Yes, definitely there has been improvement, and quite a major improvement at that. Just as you've narrated, it was worse. It was bad, very bad, where literally you are having deaths occurring through cattle rustling and that banditry on a weekly basis, and lives were getting lost. Economic, activities were getting disrupted in that region of the North Rift particularly. So yes, there has been a major improvement, but yes, there are still instances and incidences of attacks, loss of life, disruptions. They're still there.
A curfew was imposed there, a dusk to dawn curfew. Is it still in place across all the 6 counties?
It's there. It's still there, but I think it is relaxed.
What does relaxed mean? It's either been lifted or not?
Not lifted, of course. It has not been lifted because the gazettement must be degazetted again in order for it to have been deemed lifted. But the manner of implementation of the curfew is what I'm saying is relaxed, in the sense that at least movement of people, movement of goods is better, can actually take place. at the beginning of the curfew, it was very strict that you can't move at when 6 p.m. sets in. No, you get stuck where 6 p.m. gets you up to the next morning. Okay. But now you at least can move. And that is due to the improved security situation.
But what do you think contributes to this perennial insecurity? Is it government failure? Is it culture? Is it cartels? Like, what is it that's contributing to this?
Many things. Really, at this time and age, culture, this culture that wants to kill, this culture that wants to disrupt, is really not anyone's culture. So for me, culture now plays a very minimal, insignificant role in the current insecurity situation. I think the insecurity situation in the north, and generally even in the country, is actually driven by the livelihoods of people wanting to get things done in the wrong way, stealing, making a living, wanting to improve your economic situation. And now people are getting into this banditry business. It's actually like a business now. So that the people who are actually involved in this thing are not the traditional, the Turkanas, the Pokots and whatever. Everyone, you could easily find others getting involved also. The gun runners are there. Those who are selling the bullets, those who are selling livestock, anyone would get into this business, Eric and the team.
To my question,
yeah.
Who is arming the bandits? And not just now, from time. If you go back all the way to Baragoi, even before that, police officers and security forces will often be ambushed by people who seem out to outgun and outnumber them. So who is arming these bandits?
Madam, first of all, you can't really say who this is the person doing who is arming the people. But you will find the guns. They're there. One, most of the guns in the North Rift actually come from our neighboring countries, from South Sudan, some of them from Ethiopia, some of them all the way from Somalia, and they find their way to these particular areas. There is trade, actually, in arms from those unstable countries or those countries that are having infights within their nations into the region.
What are they trading for the guns? Because guns are quite expensive.
There is exchange of animals for the guns, of money, of course.
Still goes back to my question.
It is actually a trade.
It's an expensive affair to be that well armed that you can pin down security forces.
There were days when you could exchange an AK gun for only 4 or 3 cattle, cows, bulls. Yeah.
Is it layered? Because I'm seeing where just ordinary members of a community would then trade their goats to acquire a firearm, an AK-47, for their own self-security because of these attacks.
Correct.
But then there are more sophisticated weapons, which would then cost more, which would mean that this is a bit more organized than just, local village people buying guns to replace a rungu so that you can now carry a gun for your own security.
Eric, you graduate based on what you are fighting, against. If you are fighting another AK-47 holder, a gun, then you are okay with an AK. But if the person you are going to fight is going to have another different machine gun, then you are likely to be tempted to get that gun. And you don't get those kind of guns. There are not many, okay? And so it depends on what you're faced with.
The former regional commissioner in Rift Valley, is now the governor of Trans Nzoia, George Natembeya.
Yes.
He once said that from what they have seen, and remember he was the head of the security in that region, there's heavy weapons used, cattle stolen, driven all the way from those areas, stolen from the Kerio Valley. It finds its way into Ajia and then finds its way back later. So it's a very organized group of people. Now this is a government official saying, this is what we know, this is what is happening. So I want to ask you, do you believe that the state machinery knows who's behind these attacks, who's behind this crime?
Well, Eric, as you've stated, that is what Natembeya said. And I'm sure he spoke from his experience as the chair of the Regional Security Committee, the County Security Committee. I first met Natembeya when we went for the peace caravan with the MPs in Isiolo. And he was a county commissioner by then, way back in 2015 or thereabout. And so he has worked in those areas, and he would speak from that experience. When you say whether it is from an organized group, of course, the government has intelligence machinery. They would know. And even now, one time I was in this talk show, with you somewhere, and I said, we should deal with the insecurity in the north using security intelligence. Okay? Our security intelligence operators in this country, I am sure, are able to track down. If they can deal with the terrorists that come into Kenya and be able to trace their movements, they should be in a position to trace the movements of the guns, the movement of the bandits, far much easier than a terrorist who would be a complicated, criminal. And so, intelligence must be there and should be there. But as to whether that intelligence is actually being used to nab the problem, that is where I feel there could be laxity for whatever reason. For whatever reason.
Could the reasons be political? Are there political players that weaponize banditry?
Politics is there. Politics is there. But what is politics in this case, really? Yeah? What do you politic
what
about
a gun?
What
should be the political gain?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the political gain.
Stealing
cattle from
Power.
community X. Power.
Intimidation tactics.
Stealing there's nothing political about stealing cows. Maybe it is the voting. Maybe you benefit. I don't know how a politician benefits by people getting killed by their communities. Okay. What do you gain?
Have you been MP 2013?
Yes. This is my third term.
Your third term?
I was elected into the National Assembly in 2013, yes.
So it probably means there's a fair bit of scope or insights that you've had into this matter. Have you made any recommendations, tried to sponsor a bill? What have you tried to do in your capacity to address this issue?
I haven't done a bill. What we are dealing with is crime. And the Kenyan law is actually able to deal with this crime. Yeah? It's about laxity. It's about the heart to actually deal with the issue. I used to talk of political goodwill, that we must have that political goodwill. In other words, allow for fair justice to take place. If crime has occurred, then let the law take its course. If you are talking of politics coming in terms of speaking for the criminals, yes, as a representative of the people of Turkana West, for instance, I will be told my people have been jailed for no reason. That would always be the story. But you would then want to know is it really for no reason? Okay? But if you want to let things just go and want to defend a wrong, maybe that is where now you can say the politicking is wrong. Because you can't defend a criminal who has committed a crime like killing, like stealing by force. Yeah?
Are you saying there's
and
no
so the
political
law needs to take its course.
Are you think,
right, if there's no political goodwill, then it is a political issue. When then ties back to your earlier statement, which is now that the cultural aspect of banditry is very minimal. So then what are the other things that are playing into it? And if there's no political goodwill, it means there's political goodwill for the other side.
Mariam, what I meant by the political goodwill is at the top.
Yes.
Okay? In the echelons of government.
Right.
Okay? The head of state, the head of security in a particular place X. Okay? They take orders. Government officers will take orders. Okay? And orders are hierarchical. So up to the highest hierarchy of where those orders are given, there must be free flow, okay, of action. So that those who are supposed to deal with the problem are enabled to deal with it without looking back, without looking at their backs and wanting to take care of themselves. Maybe they will step on someone's toe. Maybe they are going to be punished. Maybe they are going to be transferred to a place they don't want because they touched on the wrong person. Okay? This is what I'm talking about.
And this has happened.
And that aspect of politicking, okay, if that is the politics you're talking about, of course those things happen. Yeah?
I know.
And then when you quote the Governor Natembea, he has that experience. He was in that position and he felt at one point was helpless because what he wanted and what he knew to be right to be done,
he was not getting the requisite support.
Okay.
I you know, when we say political driven, and we see this. We see, for example, in Marsabit County, attacks just before the election, and then after an election, you see calm. Now there you can see political, you know, underpinnings, because you can see that this is displacement of people here, here, and because the voting in this county is, you know, through the tribes and the sub-tribes and the clans, and you can see that. The area of the vastness of just Tiati constituency alone and the attacks happening there, or the neighboring West Pokot County, or the neighboring Turkana County, and the attacks happening there, just moving people and livestock. I don't see displacement because there's already pastoralist communities that they're moving. It can't be the motivation. And that's why I go with those that say that this is crime. This is crime of the highest order, very well organized, just like this cartel we have on the headline of the Daily Nation today from Mexico. Very highly organized. Such that the intelligence that the government has decided to actually categorize those attackers as terrorists. In 2023, when Kithure Kindiki was declaring this area unsafe and disturbed, when the KDF was being deployed, this area, these people are classified as terrorists. What we've seen and heard from the president saying then, and repeating more than once, he said these are criminals. So it's criminals. Now, the government of Kenya has never been unable to deal with criminals. But in this particular case, in these 6 counties, these criminals have basically been overpowering the government. We have seen a situation where over 100 police officers have died in this region. Over 100. Over 300 people have died in this region on insecurity. Military has been deployed, but still people are being attacked in March 2025, 2 years after the military was deployed in this region.
Can I say?
Yes.
Eric, the North Rift is a vast region, very underdeveloped. The road infrastructure is, I think, the poorest in the country. And there are many challenges which are basically making life difficult in the North Rift. the president's pronouncement are very okay. The desire to stop banditry was there and is still there. The deployment was done. But who are you dealing with? You've made a point. These are mobile people. The animals must move in order for those animals to get water, to get grass, even to get to the market. They have to move. Very long distances, by the way, kilometers away. And then you are deploying a force that is enclosed in some camp, awaiting an incident to happen in order to respond. See that difference.
Is that what's happening? Is that what the military operation has been?
But the military,
military were deployed and they're just based in camps.
Of course,
they're not patrolling the area?
Even if they're patrolling, how much of that area can they cover in an area where you have no roads and where these bandits and where these occurrences happen? There are no roads. There are bushes.
So what are we saying?
I mean, I'm telling you, so that you can appreciate.
That our government is unable
to quell the banditry.
deal with this.
Basically.
It is a costly affair, Eric.
We have the money. We've been given the military a lot of money.
The military is just one part of it. By the way, the military has been deployed to support the police, the NPS. Okay?
Yes.
So the actual leaders of the operation, if you're talking of that deployment, is the police. It's the National Police Service. And they will call in the military, the KDF, where they feel they need their services. Maybe because of the air cover, maybe because of the sophistication of those whom they are engaging. But I think the police are equal to the task. Just that the mentality is, the deployment is, you get to a camp, you react as you are called to respond.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we want to hear what you have been doing as a member of parliament and as with your colleagues in parliament in demanding accountability for this. People are dying, and we are deploying a lot of resources into this area, into saying we are securing the area. It's 8:30. The MP for Turkana West, Daniel Nanok, is our guest. Lest we forget that many people continue to die in the restive north, which has been declared a disturbed area where we've deployed KDF personnel, we've deployed GSU, we've deployed anti-stop theft unit, we've deployed specialized police units into this area to deal with them. We have not seen much result. We'll be back shortly. From where it goes. You know, I want to quote a story here at the beginning of March on Nation.Africa by Flora Koech. Flora wrote and said, the renewed bandit attacks in Kerio Valley are undermining government peace efforts. And she's quoting and saying, for example, since January 2024, in Baringo North alone, more than 20 people have been killed. And the area county commander, Julius Kirago, says the government has set up police camps in strategic locations, including Kapsebeiwa, Kosile, Yatia, to ensure safety and to repel the attackers. Okay, that is one. In Loruk, Baringo North, 55-year-old Musa Chemursoi was shot dead by bandits while pursuing stolen livestock. Another attack near Tot in Kerio Valley resulted in the deaths of 3 people, including 2 women and a motorcyclist. And everything that we hear is just the security agency saying we are pursuing and we demand that you return firearms. I want to remind us that since Valentine's Day 2023, the Kenya Defence Forces have been deployed to these areas to help the National Police Service in bringing peace to this area. The then Cabinet Secretary for the Interior, Kithure Kindiki, said, we are going to crush them. We know who they are. We are going to flush them out of their caves and we are going to crush them. Mheshimiwa Daniel Nanok, MP Turkana West, as a member of parliament, have you received any report from the government saying, since you allow the deployment of of Kenya Defence Forces on Kenyan soil, these are the people who are behind the attacks and this is the action that's been taken? They have been taken to court.
Right. Just before he answers that question, we have a call on the line. Odonyo from Samburu wants to ask a question to the MP for Turkana. Yes. Odonyo?
Actually,
Yes.
Ledonyo,
Actually,
sorry.
Ledonyo, actually, thank you for joining us, Ledonyo. Ledonyo is an elder at Ilmarti, for the Ilmarti community in Samburu County, the one that was attacked last week. Mzee Ledonyo, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Yes.
Now, we know that your area, particularly Ilmarti, has been quite unsafe. Can you just give us an update of what's been happening in the last 1 month in your region?
Yes. The Martin people, we are known as the Martin, though we live in Sukutamar Maruo, Amaya location, Samburu West. We have been affected with this insecurity since 2006. There are some things, moments from 2011 to 2017, lakini kiliko kuu zaidi wakati tunapata kusema tuna amani, wenzetu ambao kutoka Tiati, sisi tukiteremuka hapo Amaya, kuna watu wengi wanapoteza maisha tukienda sokoni. Hii mwezi mmoja tu ambao sasa tuko, kuna jana tu mzee ambao ameshukuliwa hapo chini ya town yetu ya Longewan. Katatiwa kapelekwa Amaya. So
amechukuliwa na nani?
Wanashukuliwa na hawa wa Pokot. Ni mzee tu ambao alikuwa anatembea tu hapo chini. Hata kidogo kichwa yake si mzuri sana. So kuna ng'ombe yao wanasema imepotea. So wanasema lazima tupate ng'ombe au msipate mzee. So tuko na shida huku. Maana sisi wenyewe ambao tunaishi kwa hiyo bed kuanzia Longewan, Lolmolop tukielekea upande huo. Tuko na shida kuu sana. Serikali wamejaribu, lakini tunaona serikali ikifanya kazi, wakati mwingine unatokea na muda kidogo wananyamaza, watu wanauawa, wanakimbia siku mbili. Kuna wakati hata Kindiki alisema watu watoke hapo, watu wetu wakatoroka, lakini hakuna kitu ilifanyika. So saizi tuko na shida kubwa sana. Hatulimi, wanyama wetu tunakuwa na boma kubwa, manyata ambayo tunaita lorora, ndio watu wanaishi sasa. So tunaishi kwa hofu sana.
Asante Ledonyo. Wacha tuko na the MP for Turkana West hapa Daniel. Wacha ajibu your concern. Kwanza, the fact that people are being taken hostage, watu wanatekwa nyara in exchange for now the cattle. Is this a new development or has it been going on?
That is definitely new. That is like holding someone hostage. And
as leverage.
Yeah.
You're hearing it for the first time?
That I'm hearing that for the first time. Yes.
We've had many cases like that before, where they raid and then they also take, the young children.
Where in Samburu?
Across this region.
No.
In areas where communities where the raiders come, they raid and they, in some cases they go with some members of the community. Like if it's the herders, the herders who are there, they are also held captive. So one of the ways of releasing is using the herders or the captives as bargaining chips.
Well, that is very new to me. I've not had it in my county. It doesn't happen. We border the Pokots in the south, with Uganda, Karamojong in the west, and Toposa in the north, and the Marile, the Dasanach. The other day we had that incident in Todonyang early this month, and there's nothing. It's not about ransom. No, it's just attacks. Those that happen.
Okay.
But back to what I am doing, and as an MP, I think Eric and team, that is the area we need to delve in. We know the context. We understand the backgrounds now. We've been reporting on that. What we need to be talking about are the probable solutions to what really is happening. I won't want to paint a grim picture of what happens. You will always find these cases happening. Even in Nairobi, there are bad incidents of insecurity that happen. But we don't highlight the insecurity person. We always look for solutions. Let's look for solutions to this problem. And I would say, because of the vastness of this our region, because of the poor infrastructure support system, because of the, I would say, poor deployment of our security agencies, this is where we need to tweak so that we make whatever solution we are providing effective. Let's talk about the infrastructure, for example, where you have deployed the KDF. They are in a particular place, in an area that covers 4,000 square kilometers. You are in a corner of that area. And incidents are occurring in the other corner of the area you have deployed, but you have no way to get there. Let's fix the roads. Yeah? Let the KDF, because they're able to do that, let them fix those roads so that they are able to patrol. They are able to respond effectively, immediately. Yeah? Again, I want to say.
Are you basing this on, and because I want to get back to the question, we have a call on the line, we'll get to him shortly. Are you basing this on the report that has been presented to you in Parliament by the Interior Ministry on the update of the security operation?
No.
Where they have said our challenge is that the people we've deployed are not able to reach vast
I am
areas
not basing on any report. However, there is a motion or a report in Parliament that needs to be discussed. Okay?
How many reports have been presented to Parliament on this particular operation since 2023?
No, I don't think we have any report on the deployment.
Okay.
No report is in Parliament.
But I'm aware that it's a requirement of the Constitution, Mheshimiwa,
that is,
if we deploy the military to assist in a security operation within the country, then Parliament must be given a report periodically on the progress of what the military is doing on the soil of Kenya.
Eric, I want to say, Parliament has a way it works. Parliament works in committees. It is very possible that the Committee on Foreign Relations and Intelligence, led by the Chair Nelson Koech, may have been given a report, okay, as a committee, but yet to come to the floor of the House as a report to the House now to be discussed. I am aware of the report by the National Cohesion Committee of National Assembly, headed by Mheshimiwa Haji, okay? I'm also aware of a report by the Interior and National Administration Committee, headed by Mheshimiwa Tongoyo, okay? That is the one that is going to discuss the insecurity in the northern Kenya. It is in the order paper. It is supposed to be upcoming. And they have given recommendations on what needs to be done. I want to believe that is the report that is likely to actually delve into what has happened in the North Rift since the deployment. Okay?
Shall I talk to the caller first?
Right. Let's get Geoffrey on the line. Geoffrey, what question do you have for Honorable Nanok?
To react on what he was saying about, Eric was asking about the issue of contribution of politics, you know, being involved in the whole issue. And when I heard about Governor Natembea, when the president had visited, I think, Kitale, he mentioned something about politics, and he talked of how politicians would engage in paying some youths. And he even said that the people of Nairobi are guilty. They're guilty of, they are beneficiaries of the cattle which is stolen from the northern part of Kenya, because when cattle is stolen from there, it is sold in Nairobi, and that one helps in financing the politics, especially of that particular area. So I think politics has a major role. A friend who was working also in the security forces sometimes would mention about issues of KDF being there, and they cannot take express commands from the police. They have to take commands from the Department of Defense in Nairobi. Even if an incident has just happened there, they would have to receive orders from the Department of Defense in Nairobi. So they cannot act swiftly basing on what police has informed them. That one also contributes to that, and maybe it becomes a challenge. Now you can imagine, like, if 200 heads of cattle, and maybe one costs 60,000, is stolen, you are talking of about 12 million or something. And you know, that one to them helps to finance the politics there. That's what we had, especially from Governor Natembea and others who've been working there. So politics is playing a central role there. And maybe when one culprit is arrested from a community, they will come up against them and talk of Mutuetu and all that. So the tribal politics also sets in. So I think it is something that should be looked at extensively, both on the side of the military, the way the commands are issued and the way they react. And maybe also those issues of politics cannot be ruled out.
Thank
in
you,
that
Geoffrey.
particular regard.
Thank you,
so
Geoffrey.
much.
That also comes into, and also a question that was asked by Richard as well. As Richard is asking, how is it that, how can you explain 200 heads of cattle being stolen and disappearing off the face of the earth and not been seen again? What Richard is asking has been asked many times.
Yeah.
How can you just explain that cattle are stolen and they disappear, and any effort at tracing these animals goes, cattle don't fly?
Eric, let's agree. What
Geoffrey.
Is that Geoffrey?
Yeah.
The one who
Just spoke, yes.
Yes. What Geoffrey is saying is correct. Okay? It's an explanation of how these things happen. So I'm not denying the fact that their politics does play a role in what happens. Okay? In terms of bailing, supporting these criminals and maybe kutetea, that, oh, this is our person, this is my constituent. That happens. In terms of planning, I think there are leaders whose politics thrives in supporting these criminal activities. We border, take the case of Tiati. What really is happening in Tiati? You mentioned here that Tiati is a vast constituency.
Yep.
No, Tiati is a very small place compared to Turkana East. Tiati will get into Turkana East 2 times. And Turkana East constituency is the smallest constituency in Turkana County. I represent a constituency that covers 16,000 square kilometers. What is the area of Tiati? Hardly 10,000. I mean, 5 or 6,000. Yeah? When these activities occur and you deploy the military or the police or whoever, the effectiveness of the deployment is what I'm questioning.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Are we saying that tomorrow, day after this interview, what it sounds like is that this is going to keep happening? Because we were hoping to get an indication and clarity on a solution that can be sustained. I appreciate that it's complex. You've mentioned very many things, but it's how then are we moving towards saying we are going to have swift response, we're going to ensure that anybody who's politicking the issue is going to be held accountable, we're going to make sure we demand reports from committees so that a year from now we can say, we no longer have banditry. It sounds like we're making very, very tiny circular motion steps towards addressing a humongous issue.
So what are you asking of me?
I'm just asking what is a definitive solution? Because from what Eric has said, from as far back as 2022, 23, we're going to address this swiftly.
And we've been disarming since the 80s, I don't know.
KDF is deployed, disarmament. It's circular, basically. It's going around in circles. It's a vicious cycle.
I want to believe there are more guns in the north now compared to when you disarmed. I don't know when last you disarmed. There is supposed to be a continuous disarmament exercise in the north. But how many guns has it brought out? Leave that. I made the first statement and said the situation is better than what it was. In 2014, when we were faced with the Nadome massacre. Okay, 2014, 2015. And the leadership, political leaders, the MPs, were called by the then deputy president, now the president. And from that region, the North Rift. And we were talked to, and we were asked, for heaven's sake, it is your people who are suffering. It is your people who are losing lives. Can you get involved? How did we get involved? The government actually supported the members of parliament and the senators to move around the affected counties. Okay? It's about flying, it's about traveling, okay? There is cost involved. And we went around talking to our people. I want to say, let us not divorce the people themselves from these processes. The communities that are fighting, that are stealing from one another, must be on this table to offer solutions. When we went around talking to those communities, actually we got peace for 2-3 years. It is that peace that actually got disrupted by the politicking again, okay? The incitement that occurs when people are looking for votes. And communities want to rally around their ego. You know, we are Pokots, we are Turkanas, we are Samburus, we can't be beaten and all that, okay? But then after that, and of course, those bad incidents occurred. We lost people who were burnt in Lomelo, in Nadome, and we kept saying we must talk. We must discuss, we must agree amongst ourselves that we don't incite our communities. So communities must be involved in this exercise because they are the ones who are actually doing the cattle rustling, they are the ones who are killing, they are the ones who are being killed.
Let's bring in somebody from Elgeyo Marakwet, just for pause. And this is Kipruto. Kipruto is joining us on the line. Kipruto, good morning. What's your question, or what do you propose as a fix to this issue?
Kipruto? All right. I don't think we're able to get him, but I'm sure if in the next maybe 2 minutes we can get him, that would be fantastic. The fix is, what we're trying to look to, because it's unsustainable. And I think for a lot of people, they may forget about what happens in the north because it's so far removed. Perhaps there's not enough coverage of it. But these are lives, way too many, people's livelihoods, way too many. So what is the fix from a person who sits in parliament?
This is what I've done in my constituency. I border 2 international borders. South Sudan, a very volatile border, and Uganda to the west. Not very volatile, but still having challenges of cattle stealing and rustling. We have been undertaking meetings, dialogue meetings, communities vis-a-vis communities, okay? For instance, the Toposa vis-a-vis the Turkana of Kenya, the Toposa of South Sudan. We speak the same language. We have the same culture. And we have struck a deal. We have agreed to live at peace. What are our challenges? People are stealing because they want to put food on the table. People are engaged in this business because they want to amass more for themselves. And so there is need for continuous education, giving alternative livelihoods to these people has actually helped us in Turkana West, against our brothers in Karamoja, against our brothers in Toposa land, that we can actually do other things and not necessarily be stealing and be killing. So yes, this kind of communication engagement between communities must be encouraged, must be supported by government. Secondly, the deployment of the policing aspect in the north, seriously, Eric, needs to be changed. Building police stations, okay, is not what you really
won't work in that region.
It won't. Because those are fixed installations. You want a people-driven process that can move with the herders, okay? So that when I'm taking out my cows, I am assured that there is security around
where you are,
where I am, okay? So, and that has been actually brought in by the National Police Reservists. Those people are doing a fantastic job in the north. They only need to be given proper kitting. They need to be given incentivized properly and be made to move as required. And they understand the terrain of the place. They speak the language. They understand the customs. They will police those people better than the regular police stations that you build.
Daniel Nanok, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, this is a conversation that ought to keep happening. He's the MP for Turkana West. In the National Assembly, we've been talking about the restive northern part of this country. It has been declared a disturbed area. There have been military deployments here. My own take of this is until you start seeing the head of the snake in court, and this was promised by Kithure Kindiki as the Interior CS. We know who these terrorists are and their leaders and those who are benefiting, but we've never seen arrests and prosecution. Until you start seeing those, this will just be
a cycle.
Yeah, it'll be a cycle that continues. It's 9 a.m. Keep it here for our next conversation, and thank you for tuning in.